The neon sign of Amanda's Healing Hands flickered in the twilight, casting a soft glow over my empty parking lot. It was pushing 9 p.m. and I was just about ready to call it a day when the phone rang. Damn, who could be calling at this hour? I contemplated letting it go to voicemail, but something made me pick up. LGBTQ helpline. This is Amanda. How can I assist you tonight? The voice on the other end was hesitant, trembling. I don't know if I should be calling. I am not even sure what I need. My breath caught in my throat. That voice. It couldn't be. 20 years had passed, but I'd recognize those dulcet tones anywhere. Fiona, my first love, the one who got away. It's okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You're safe here. Take your time. As she spoke, memories flooded back. Late nights in our dorm room, stolen kisses behind the library stacks, the way her chestnut hair caught the sunlight. And then, the tears, the shouting, the slamming doors, our painful separation when she chose her family's expectations over our love. I think I am gay, Fiona whispered, her voice breaking. I've been living a lie for so long and I can't do it anymore. I am scared, Amanda. I don't know what to do. My heart ached for her, for the years we'd lost, for the struggle she must have endured. You are so brave for reaching out, I said, fighting to maintain my professional demeanor. Coming out is a journey, and it's okay to be scared. But you are not alone. As I guided her through breathing exercises and shared resources, my mind raced. Should I reveal who I was? Would it help or hurt her? In the end, I decided to keep my identity hidden. This call wasn't about me or our past. It was about Fiona finding her truth. Thank you, she said as our call neared its end. I feel lighter somehow. Like maybe tea here is hope. Tea here is always hope, I assured her. And remember, you are perfect, just as you are. After we hung up, I sat in the darkened massage parlor, my emotions a tangled mess. Part of me wanted to reach out to Fiona, to reconnect after all these years, but I knew that wasn't my place. She needed to walk her own path now. I locked up the shop and stepped into the cool night air. The encounter left me restless, memories of my own coming out journey swirling in my mind. Sleep wouldn't come easy tonight. As I drove home, a crazy idea struck me. What better way to clear my head than to see the world from a new perspective? I pulled out my phone and booked a spot on tomorrow's sunrise hot air balloon ride. A little adventure was just what I needed to shake off the ghosts of the past and remind myself of how far I'd come. Little did I know that impulsive decision would change my life in ways I never could have imagined. As I drifted off to sleep that night, Fiona's voice echoed in my dreams, mingling with visions of soaring through the sky. Tomorrow would bring new heights, both literally and figuratively. And maybe, just maybe, I chanced at the love I thought was lost forever. The pre-dawn chill nipped at my skin as I stood in the launch field, watching the massive balloons slowly inflate. My breath fogged in the air, mixing with the mist that clung to the grass. The events of last night felt like a dream. Fiona's voice, a distant echo. First time, a warm voice beside me asked. I turned to find a pair of striking green eyes gazing at me. The woman was breathtaking, tall, with wavy brunette hair that caught the first hints of sunrise. She wore a bright smile that seemed to chase away the morning chill. Is it that obvious? I laughed, suddenly self-conscious. Only because you look as nervous as I feel, she admitted with a wink. I am Summer. Amanda? I replied, shaking her outstretched hand. A jolt of electricity seemed to pass between us at the touch, and I quickly pulled away. As we climbed into the basket with a few other passengers, Summer and I found ourselves pressed close together. The proximity sent my heart racing, and I couldn't tell if it was from the impending flight or her intoxicating perfume. Ready for adventure, Summer whispered as the balloon began to rise. I nodded, words failing me as the ground fell away. The valley stretched out below us, a patchwork of fields and neighborhoods slowly illuminated by the rising sun. It was breathtaking, but I found my gaze continually drawn to Summer's profile as she took in the view. We chatted easily as we drifted over Moreno Valley. Summer, I learned, was a corporate executive who'd recently moved to the area. She had a quick wit and a laugh that made my stomach do somersaults. So, what do you do, Amanda? She asked as we floated over a vineyard. I'm a massage therapist, I replied. I have my own parlor downtown. Summer's eyes lit up. No kidding, I've been looking for a good massage place. I carry all my stress in my shoulders. Before I could stop myself, I blurted out, I have an opening tomorrow if you'd like to book a session. Smooth, real smooth, I chided myself internally. But Summer's smile only grew wider. I'd love that, she said, pulling out her phone to make the appointment. As we landed and said our goodbyes, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened. Summer's touch lingered on my arm where she'd steadied me as we disembarked, and her parting words echoed in my mind. See you tomorrow, magic hands. I drove home in a daze, my head spinning from more than just the altitude. The connection I'd felt with Summer was unlike anything I'd experienced in years. It both thrilled and terrified me. As I entered my apartment, my phone buzzed with a reminder. I had a full day of appointments ahead, culminating in Summer's session. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. How was I supposed to maintain professional boundaries when just the memory of her smile made my knees weak? I tried to push thoughts of Summer aside as I prepared for my day, but they kept creeping back in. Her laugh, the way the wind had tousled her hair, the warmth of her hand in mine. It was ridiculous to feel this way after one chance encounter, wasn't it? And yet, as I drove to work, I couldn't help but feel like I was standing on the edge of something big. The balloon ride had given me a new perspective on more than just the valley. It had shown me that maybe, just maybe, I was ready to open my heart again. As I unlocked the door to my parlor, I took a deep breath. Today was just another day. I had clients to focus on, appointments to keep. But as I flipped the sign to open, I couldn't help but glance at the clock. 24 hours until I'd see Summer again. 24 hours to figure out how to keep my composure when those green eyes met mine once more. Little did I know the real challenge was yet to come. Because sometimes, the most dangerous territory isn't thousands of feet in the air. It's the space between therapist and client, between longing and professionalism. And I was about to navigate that minefield with my heart on the line. The clock on the wall seemed to mock me as I prepared the massage room for Summer's appointment. Each tick felt like a countdown to something momentous, though I couldn't quite put my finger on what. I smoothed the sheets on the table for the 100th time, adjusting the lavender-scented candles until they were perfectly aligned. Get a grip, Amanda, I muttered to myself. She's just another client. But even as the words left my lips, I knew they were a lie. The memory of our shared balloon ride lingered in my mind, making my heart race every time I thought of her smile. The gentle chime of the door pulled me from my reverie. I took a deep breath, steeling myself before stepping into the reception area. And there she was, looking even more stunning than I remembered. Summer's business attire accentuated her curves in a way that made my mouth go dry. Hello again, magic hands, Summer greeted me with a wink that sent a shiver down my spine. I swallowed hard, fighting to maintain my professional demeanor. Welcome, Summer. If you'll follow me, we can get started. As I led her to the massage room, I could feel the heat of her gaze on my back. The air between us seemed to crackle with unspoken tension. I gestured to the table, my voice sounding strained even to my own ears. You can undress to your comfort level and lie face down under the sheet. I'll knock before re-entering. Summer nodded, her green eyes locking with mine for a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity. Then she smiled, a mischievous glint in her eye. Don't keep me waiting too long. I practically fled the room, my heart pounding. This was ridiculous. I was a professional for crying out loud. I'd massaged countless attractive women without losing my cool. But something about Summer was different. She made me feel seen in a way I hadn't experienced in years. After giving her a few minutes to get settled, I knocked softly and re-entered the room. Summer lay on the table, the sheet draped low across her back, revealing a tantalizing expanse of smooth skin. I took a steadying breath and approached. Let me know if the pressure is too much, I said, beginning to work on her shoulders. Summer let out a low moan that sent heat coursing to my body. Damn, that feels amazing, she murmured. As I worked, I tried to focus on the task at hand, but it was impossible to ignore the electricity that seemed to spark with every touch. My fingers traced the curve of her spine, and I could have sworn I felt her shiver. So Amanda, Summer's voice was muffled against the headrest. Do you always take your massage clients on romantic balloon rides first? I nearly choked. That was just a coincidence, I stammered. She chuckled, the sound sending vibrations through my hands. A happy one, I'd say. The rest of the session passed in a blur of stolen glances and accidental brushes that felt anything but accidental. Every time my hands slid over Summer's skin, it took all my willpower not to linger. not to explore the curves and valleys of her body in a decidedly unprofessional manner. As I worked on her lower back, Summer turned her head to the side, catching my eye. "You know, I haven't felt this relaxed in years," she said softly. "Or this. Alive." Our gazes locked, and for a moment I forgot to breathe. The air between us seemed to thicken, charged with possibility. I found myself leaning in, drawn by some magnetic force I couldn't resist. The timer's shrill beep shattered the moment, making us both jump. I stepped back, my cheeks burning. That's time," I said, hating how flustered I sounded. "I'll step out so you can get dressed." I fled to the safety of the hallway, my heart racing. What the hell was I doing? I'd come dangerously close to crossing a line, one that could jeopardize my entire career. But even as I silently berated myself, I couldn't shake the memory of Summer's eyes, the way they seemed to see right through me. When Summer emerged, fully dressed, but with a hint of pink still coloring her cheeks, I managed to maintain a semblance of professionalism as I rang up her session. But as she turned to leave, she paused at the door. "Amanda," she said, her voice soft. "Thank you for everything." And then she was gone, leaving me standing in the empty reception area, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I sank into my chair, burying my face in my hands. This was dangerous territory, and I knew it. But even as I resolved to keep things strictly professional from now on, a small voice in the back of my mind whispered a treacherous thought. What if some rules were meant to be broken? As I closed up shop that evening, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted. The safe, predictable life I'd built for myself suddenly seemed stifling. Summer had awakened something in me, a longing I'd thought long buried. I stared at her name in my appointment book, my finger hovering over the delete button. The smart thing would be to refer her to another therapist, to nip this in the bud before it could blossom into something complicated. But as I reached for the phone, I hesitated, because sometimes the most exhilarating journeys begin with a single reckless step. And despite every rational thought screaming at me to be cautious, I found myself wanting to take that leap. Little did I know, the real test of my resolve was yet to come. The LZDKIF Center bustled with activity as I pushed through the doors, my arms laden with pamphlets for the upcoming Pride Month events. The familiar scent of coffee and well-worn furniture greeted me, a comforting contrast to the turmoil in my heart. It had been a week since Summer's massage, and I barely slept, torn between professional ethics and the undeniable pull I felt towards her. "Amanda, just in time," called out Jerry, the center's coordinator. "We've got a new volunteer starting today. Can you show her the ropes?" I nodded, grateful for the distraction. But as I turned towards the reception desk, my heart nearly stopped. There, looking as stunning as ever in a crisp blazer and jeans, was Summer. Our eyes met, and the world seemed to freeze. Summer's lips parted in surprise, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "Amanda, you volunteer here too?" I swallowed hard, willing my voice to remain steady. "Yeah, for a few years now. What brings you here?" Summer's gaze dropped, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her expression. I recently came out. Figured it was time to give back to the community that's helped me so much. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. Summer was queer. The possibility I'd barely allowed myself to hope for was suddenly, tantalizingly real. We spent the afternoon working side by side, organizing files and answering phones. Every accidental brush of our hands sent electricity coursing through me. Our conversations flowed easily, punctuated by shared laughter and lingering glances. As the center quieted down for the evening, Summer turned to me, her green eyes sparkling. "Hey, want to grab a coffee? I'd love to hear more about your experiences coming out." I hesitated, knowing I was treading dangerous waters, but the pull was too strong to resist. "Sure," I heard myself say, "I know a great little place nearby." The cafe was cozy, tucked away on a quiet street. As we settled into a corner booth, the setting sun painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, casting a warm glow over Summer's features. "So," she began, stirring her light, "how long have you known that you are gay?" I finished for her, smiling. "Since college, actually. But it took me years to fully accept it." Summer nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I get that. I spent so long trying to force myself to be something I am not. It wasn't until my divorce last year that I finally admitted the truth to myself." As we shared our stories, the walls between us crumbled. Summer spoke of her conservative upbringing, the pressure to conform, the failed marriage that left her questioning everything. I found myself opening up about Fiona, about the pain of first love lost and the journey to self-acceptance. It's funny, Summer mused, her fingers absently tracing patterns on the table, inching closer to mine. All those years of feeling alone, and now, here we are. Our hands were nearly touching now, the air between us charged with possibility. I knew I should pull away, maintain some semblance of professional distance. But as Summer's eyes met mine, filled with a warmth that made my breath catch, I found myself leaning in. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, but as Summer's hand cupped my cheek, it deepened, igniting a fire that had long lay dormant. When we finally parted, both breathless, I felt dizzy with emotion. "Wow," Summer whispered, her forehead resting against mine. "Yeah," I agreed, unable to form a more coherent thought. Reality came crashing back as my phone buzzed, a reminder of tomorrow's appointments. Summer was still my client. This was still a massive ethical breach. "Summer, I began pulling away slightly. "We can't. I am your massage therapist. There are rules." Pain flashed in her eyes, quickly masked by understanding. "I know. I am sorry, I shouldn't have." "No," I interrupted, surprising myself with the fierceness in my voice. "Don't apologize, that was incredible, but it's complicated." Summer nodded, a sad smile playing at her lips. "Life usually is." We walked back to the center in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. As we reached her car, Summer turned to me, determination etched on her face. "Amanda, I know this is messy, but what I feel for you, it's real. I'll find another massage therapist if that's what it takes, but please don't shut me out." My heart raced as I considered her words. The responsible thing would be to walk away, to maintain clear boundaries. But as I looked into Summer's eyes, I saw a reflection of my own longing, my own hope for a second chance at love. "Okay," I heard myself say. Let's take it slow. Figure this out together." Summer's smile was radiant as she leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek. "I'd like that," she whispered. As I watched her drive away, a mix of exhilaration and terror swirled in my chest. I was stepping off a cliff, risking my professional reputation and my heart. But for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. Walking home under the starlit sky, I couldn't help but think of Fiona, of that long-ago phone call that had set this all in motion. Life had a funny way of coming full circle. Here I was at 42, feeling the same butterflies, the same fears, the same hopes I'd had at 20. But this time, I was older, wiser. This time I was ready to fight for love, no matter how complicated it might be. As I drifted off to sleep that night, Summer's kiss still lingering on my lips, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears to face. But for now I allowed myself to bask in the glow of new beginnings, of second chances found in the most unexpected places. The weeks following our kiss were a delicate dance of stolen moments and careful boundaries. Summer had found a new massage therapist, freeing us from the ethical tightrope we'd been walking. But taking things slow proved to be its own exquisite torture. We'd meet for coffee after volunteering, our conversations growing deeper, more intimate with each passing day. Summer's laugh became my favorite sound, her smile a beacon that could light up even my darkest days. But there was a hesitancy in her eyes sometimes, a shadow I couldn't quite place. It wasn't until a crisp autumn evening as we strolled through a local vineyard that the walls finally came down. "Amanda?" Summer began, her voice barely above a whisper. Here is something I need to tell you." My heart clenched, fearing the worst. Had she changed her mind? Found someone else? She took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the setting sun. My ex-husband. He wasn't just a failed marriage. He was controlling, emotionally abusive. The pain in her voice made my chest ache. I wanted to pull her close to shield her from the memories, but I sensed she needed space to get this out. "For years I thought I was the problem," she continued, "that if I could just be better, be what he wanted, everything would be okay. It wasn't until I admitted to myself that I was gay that I found the strength to leave." I reached out, gently taking her hand in mine. "Summer, I am so sorry. You didn't deserve that." She squeezed my hand, a sad smile playing at her lips. "I know that now, but starting over, it's terrifying, especially with you." "With me?" I echoed, confused. Summer turned to face me, her green eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "You make me feel things I've never felt before. It's wonderful and exciting, but it's also Overwhelming sometimes. I'm afraid of losing myself again. Understanding washed over me. I cupped her cheek gently, my thumb brushing away a stray tear. Hey, look at me, I said softly. We're in this together, at your pace. I am not going anywhere. The kiss that followed was tender, a promise sealed without words. As we continued our walk hand in hand, I felt a shift in the air between us. A deepening, a solidifying of something precious and fragile. That night, as we lay tangled in my sheets, our bodies still humming from newfound intimacy, Summer traced lazy patterns on my skin. Tell me something you've never told anyone, she murmured. I hesitated, then decided to bare my soul as she had done. I am terrified of failing, I admitted, of not being enough. It's why I threw myself into my work after my last relationship ended. It felt safer than risking my heart again. Summer propped herself up on an elbow, her gaze intense. You, Amanda Murphy, are more than enough. You are everything. The conviction in her voice made my throat tight with emotion. We made love again, slower this time, each touch an affirmation, each kiss a promise. As dawn broke, painting the room in soft hues, Summer stirred beside me. I should go, she said reluctantly. Early meeting. I pulled her closer, not ready to let go of this perfect moment. Stay, I whispered. I'll make breakfast. She hesitated, then smiled. Okay. But only if you let me help. I make a mean omelet. We moved around my tiny kitchen, in comfortable synchronicity, stealing kisses between flipping pancakes and brewing coffee. It felt domestic, right in a way I'd never experienced before. As we sat down to eat, Summer's phone buzzed. Her face fell as she read the message. It's work, she sighed. To hear is a crisis with a big client. They need me to fly out to New York tomorrow. For how long? I asked, trying to keep the disappointment from my voice. A week, maybe 2, she replied, looking as crestfallen as I felt. I reached across the table, taking her hand. Hey, it's okay. We'll make it work. Plenty of long-distance date nights via video call, yeah? Summer's smile was grateful, but I could see the worry lingering in her eyes. What if this changes things? What if you realize you don't want to wait around for someone with such a demanding career? I brought her hand to my lips, kissing her knuckles softly. Summer Young, I've waited 42 years to find you. A couple of weeks is nothing. The relief in her eyes was palpable. We spent the rest of the morning in a bubble of quiet intimacy, savoring each moment before the real world intruded. As I watched Summer drive away, a mix of emotions swirled in my chest. Love, definitely, a touch of fear too, but mostly an overwhelming sense of gratitude, for second chances, for unexpected balloon rides, for the courage to open my heart again. That night, as I lay in bed surrounded by the lingering scent of Summer's perfume, my phone buzzed with a text. Miss, you Eddie? Sweet dreams, magic hands. I fell asleep with a smile on my face, dreaming of vineyard sunsets and lazy Sunday mornings. The road ahead might be uncertain, but with Summer by my side, I was ready to face whatever challenges came our way. Little did I know the true test of our newfound love was just around the corner, waiting to shake the very foundations we'd so carefully built. The 2-week summer was in New York felt like an eternity. We video chatted every night, sharing the mundane details of our days and stealing intimate moments across the digital divide. But nothing could compare to the rush of emotion I felt when I finally spotted her coming through the airport gates, her face lighting up as our eyes met. I barely restrained myself from running to her, settling for a brisk walk that probably looked ridiculous to onlookers. Summer dropped her bags as soon as I was within reach, pulling me into a kiss that made my toes curl. Damn, I missed you, she breathed against my lips. Show me how much, I teased, earning a playful swat on my arm. As we drove home, Summer's hand resting on my thigh, I felt a sense of rightness settle over me. This was where I belonged. Where we belonged. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of shared moments and deepening connection. Summer introduced me to her small circle of friends, a tight-knit group of Azdikitic professionals who welcomed me with open arms. In turn, I brought her to my weekly game night with the volunteer crew from the center. Watching Summer laugh with Jerry over a particularly bad charades performance, I felt my heart swell. She fit so peening into my world, filling spaces I hadn't even realized were empty. But our bubble of bliss was about to be tested. It started with a phone call from my mother. Amanda, sweetheart, she began, her voice tight with forced cheerfulness. Your father and I were thinking of visiting next week. It's been too long since we've seen you. I froze, my mind racing. My parents knew I was gay, but we had an unspoken agreement to not discuss it. The thought of introducing Summer to them filled me with a mixture of dread and defiance. "That sounds great, Mom," I heard myself say, even as my stomach churned. "Here is actually someone I'd like you to meet." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice carefully neutral. "Oh, and who might that be?" I took a deep breath. "Her name is Summer. She's my girlfriend." Another long pause. "I see," my mother said, her tongue clipped. "Well, we look forward to meeting her." As I hung up, I felt a weight settle on my chest. Summer found me staring blankly at my phone, concern etching her features. "Babe, what's wrong?" I explained the situation, watching as understanding dawned in her eyes. Summer pulled me close, her embrace a balm to my frayed nerves. "We'll face them together," she promised, her voice fierce with determination. The week leading up to my parents' visit was tense. Summer was a rock, helping me clean the apartment and plan meals. But I could see the worry in her eyes, the fear that my parents' disapproval might drive a wedge between us. The day of their arrival dawned bright and clear. As we waited at the airport, Summer squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Remember," she whispered, "no matter what happens, I love you." My heart skipped a beat. It was the first time either of us had said those words out loud. I turned to her, my eyes shining. "I love you too," I breathed, sealing the declaration with a kiss. The moment was shattered by my mother's voice. "Amanda." I turned to see my parents approaching, their expressions a mixture of confusion and barely concealed disapproval, as they took in the scene before them. The next few days were a minefield of tense conversations and awkward silences. My father barely spoke while my mother filled every moment with inane chatter, steadfastly avoiding any mention of my relationship with Summer. It came to a head on their last night, during a painfully stilted dinner at my apartment. My mother, 3 glasses of wine in, finally broached the subject. "Amanda dear," she began, her words slightly slurred, "don't you think it's time to stop this phase? You are not getting any younger, you know. What about children?" I felt Summer stiffen beside me, her hand finding mine under the table. Taking strength from her touch, I met my mother's gaze. "This isn't a phase, Mom," I said firmly. "Summer is the love of my life. And if we decide to have children, there are plenty of options available to us." My father cleared his throat, speaking for the first time all evening. "Amanda, we just want what's best for you. This lifestyle, it's not natural." Summer's grip on my hand tightened and I could feel her trembling with the effort of holding back her words. I squeezed back, silently urging her to let me handle this. "What's not natural," I said, my voice low and intense, "is denying who I am. I spent years trying to be the daughter you wanted, but I can't do it anymore. I am gay. I am in love with Summer. And if you can't accept that, then maybe it's best if you leave." The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. My father looked as though I'd slapped him. Without a word, they both stood and left, the door closing behind them with a finality that made my heart ache. As soon as they were gone, I collapsed into Summer's arms, sobs racking my body. She held me close, murmuring words of comfort and love. "I am so proud of you," she whispered, her own voice thick with emotion. "You were incredible." We spent the rest of the night tangled together on the couch, alternating between tears and fierce declarations of love. As dawn broke, I felt drained, but oddly liberated. "What now?" Summer asked, her fingers tracing patterns on my arm. I turned to her, drinking in the sight of her sleep-mussed hair and concerned eyes. "Now," I said, managing a small smile, "we live our truth, together." She kissed me then, soft and sweet, a promise of all the tomorrows stretching out before us. As we drifted off to sleep, I realized that sometimes the family you choose is more powerful than the one you were born into. Summer was my family now, and together we could face anything. Little did I know our resolve would soon be tested in ways we never could have imagined. The weeks following my parents' disastrous visit passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost surreal. Summer and I fell into a comfortable rhythm, our lives intertwining more with each passing day. Mornings began with shared showers and stolen kisses over coffee. Evenings ended tangled in each other's arms, whispering dreams and fears into the darkness. It was a Wednesday afternoon when the bubble burst. I was finishing up with a client when my phone buzzed with a text from Summer. Need to talk. Can you come over after work? The terse message sent a chill down my spine. Summer's usually effusive texts were replaced by this cryptic request. As I locked up the parlor, my mind raced with possibilities, each more anxiety-inducing than the last. When I arrived at her apartment, Summer was pacing, her face pale and drawn. "Babe, what's wrong?" I asked, my heart in my throat. She turned to me, her green eyes swimming with unshed tears. "It's Richard," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My ex-husband. He knows about us." I felt the blood drain from my face. Summer had told me about Richard's controlling nature, his threats when she left him. "How?" I managed to choke out. "Someone from work saw us at Pride last month," she explained, running a shaky hand through her hair. "Zay told him, he's threatening to out me at work if I don't meet with him." Anger flared in my chest, hot and fierce. "That manipulative bastard," I growled. "He can't do that. It's blackmail." Summer sank onto the couch, her shoulders slumping. "You don't know Richard," she said quietly. "He's got connections. If he outs me, I could lose everything I've worked for. My career, my reputation." I knelt in front of her, taking her trembling hands in mine. "Hey, look at me," I said softly. "We'll figure this out. Together. Okay." She nodded, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "What did I do to deserve you?" We spent the next few hours strategizing, weighing our options. Summer was adamant about not giving in to Richard's demands, but the fear in her eyes was palpable. Maybe I should just come out at work," she mused, her voice uncertain. "Beat him to the punch." I squeezed her hand encouragingly. "If that's what you want to do, I am behind you 100%. But this should be on your terms, not because some jerk is forcing your hand." Summer's phone buzzed, making us both jump. It was an email from Richard demanding a meeting the next day. My stomach churned at the thought of Summer, facing him alone. "I am coming with you," I declared, my tone leaving no room for argument. Summer's eyes widened. "Amanda, no. I can't ask you to do that." "You are not asking," I replied firmly. "We're in this together, remember." The next day dawned gray and drizzly, matching our moods perfectly. As we walked into the sleek coffee shop Richard had chosen, I felt Summer's grip on my hand tighten. Richard was easy to spot, tall, impeccably dressed, with a smile that didn't reach his cold eyes. His gaze flickered between us, a sneer tugging at his lips. "Well, well," he drawled as we approached. "If it isn't my dear ex-wife and her friend." I bristled at his tone, but Summer's gentle squeeze on my arm kept me grounded. "What do you want, Richard?" Summer asked, her voice steadier than I expected. He leaned back, a predatory gleam in his eye. "I want you to remember your place, darling. This little experiment of yours has gone on long enough. It's time to come home." I felt Summer stiffen beside me. "That's never going to happen," she said, her voice low and fierce. "I am happier than I've ever been, with Amanda." Richard's face darkened. "You ungrateful little—" he began, but I cut him off. "That's enough," I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "Summer's made her choice. You need to respect that, and move on." He turned his icy glare on me. "And who the hell do you think you are?" "I am the woman who loves her," I replied, surprised by the steel in my own voice. "The woman who sees her strength, her brilliance, her heart. Something you clearly never did." Richard's mask of civility slipped, revealing the ugliness beneath. "You think this changes anything?" he snarled. "I'll ruin you both. By the time I am done, you'll be lucky to find work flipping burgers." Summer stood then, her back straight and her eyes blazing. "Go ahead," she said, her voice ringing with newfound confidence. "Out me. Tell everyone, because I am done hiding, Richard. I am done being afraid of you." She turned to me, her smile radiant despite the tears in her eyes. "I love you, Amanda Murphy, and I am not ashamed of that." My heart soared at her words. I pulled her close, not caring who saw. "I love you too," I whispered against her lips. We walked out of the coffee shop hand in hand, leaving a sputtering Richard behind. As we stepped into the misty afternoon, Summer let out a shaky laugh. "I can't believe I did that," she said, a mix of exhilaration and fear in her voice. I pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "I can. You are the strongest person I know." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. True to his word, Richard did try to out Summer at work. but she beat him to the punch, coming out to her boss and close colleagues before his email could do any damage. To our surprise and relief, the response was overwhelmingly supportive. Summer's work family rallied around her, shutting down any attempts at discrimination before they could take root. As we lay in bed one night, basking in the afterglow of love and victory, Summer propped herself up on one elbow, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You know," she said, tracing patterns on my bare skin, "all this drama has got me thinking." "Oh," I replied, raising an eyebrow. "About what?" She bit her lip, suddenly shy. "About how life's too short to waste time. About how I never want to spend another day without you by my side." My breath caught in my throat as I realized where this was going. "Summer, move in with me," she blurted out, "or I'll move in with you. I don't care. I want to build a life with you, Amanda. A real one." Tears pricked my eyes as joy bubbled up in my chest. "Yes," I whispered, pulling her close. 1,000 times yes." As we sealed our new beginning with a kiss, I marveled at how far we'd come, from a chance meeting in a hot air balloon to weathering family disapproval and ex-husband drama. Our love had been tested and emerged stronger. Little did we know, our greatest adventure was just beginning. But whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together, hand in hand, hearts intertwined. The months following our decision to move in together flew by in a whirlwind of cardboard boxes, paint swatches, and late-night furniture rearranging sessions. We decided to start fresh, finding a cozy bungalow on the outskirts of Moreno Valley, with a view of the mountains that took our breath away. As we unpacked our lives into this shared space, I found myself marveling at how pongy our belongings intertwined. Summer's modern art pieces complemented my vintage massage table. Her sleek laptop sat comfortably next to my well-worn journals. It felt right, like two puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. One lazy Sunday morning, as we sipped coffee on our new porch swing, Summer turned to me with a gleam in her eye. "You know," she mused, "I've been thinking about the readability center." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, what about it?" She set down her mug, her expression turning serious. "I want to do more. After everything we've been through, I can't help but think about all the other people out there struggling with coming out, dealing with unsupportive families, or facing discrimination at work." My heart swelled with pride and love. "What did you have in mind?" And just like that, a new chapter of our lives began to unfold. We threw ourselves into organizing LGBT youth support programs, drawing on Summer's business acumen and my experience in holistic home. The center became our second home, a place where we could channel our love into something bigger than ourselves. Watching Summer mentor young, queer professionals, her eyes alight with passion as she shared her own journey, I fell in love with her all over again. And when I led guided meditation sessions for anxious teens grappling with their identities, I could feel Summer's proud gaze warming my back. But our newfound purpose came with its own set of challenges. Late nights at the center meant less time for just us. The emotional toll of hearing heartbreaking stories day after day began to weigh on us both. One particularly rough evening, after counseling a young woman whose parents had kicked her out, I found Summer sitting in the dark on our porch swing, silent tears streaming down her face. "Hey," I said softly, sitting beside her and pulling her close. "Talk to me." She buried her face in my neck, her body shaking with quiet sobs. It's not fair," she whispered. "Why can't everyone have what we have? Why is love still so damn hard for so many people?" I stroked her hair, my own heart aching. "I don't know, love, but that's why we're doing this, right? To make it a little easier for the next generation." Summer nodded, taking a shuddering breath. "You are right. Sometimes it feels like we're not doing enough." I tilted her chin up, meeting her tear-filled eyes. "We're doing everything we can. And we're doing it together. That's what matters." As we sat there, wrapped in each other's arms under the starlit sky, an idea began to form in my mind, a way to recommit to each other and to the cause we'd both become so passionate about. The next morning I woke before dawn, my heart racing with nervous excitement. I left a note for Summer asking her to meet me at the hot air balloon launch site where we'd first met. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, I saw her approaching, her eyebrows furrowed in confusion as she spotted me standing next to a fully inflated balloon. "Amanda, what's going on?" she asked, a smile tugging at her lips. I took her hands in mine, my voice trembling slightly as I spoke. "Summer Young, a year ago, we met by chance in a balloon, just like this one. That day changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. You've shown me what true love looks like, what it means to be brave in the face of adversity, and how to use our happiness to help others. I dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Summer's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. I can't imagine spending another day without you by my side, I continued, my voice growing stronger. Will you marry me? Will you continue this adventure with me, building a life and a legacy of love and acceptance together? Tears spilled down Summer's cheeks as she nodded vigorously. Yes, she choked out. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, the balloon pilot cleared his throat. Shall we take off, ladies? Hand in hand, we climbed into the basket. As we soared over Moreno Valley, the world spread out beneath us like a patchwork quilt. I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever battles we still had to fight, we would face them together. Summer leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder. I love you, Amanda Murphy, she murmured. And I love you, Summer Young, soon to be, Murphy, I replied, kissing the top of her head. As the balloon drifted lazily through the morning sky, I thought about all the twists and turns that had led us to this moment. The pain, the joy, the fear, and the triumph. It hadn't been an easy journey, and I knew the road ahead would have its own obstacles. But as I held Summer close, watching the sun climb higher in the sky, I knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of our greatest adventure yet, and I couldn't wait to see where the wind would take us next.